Welcome friends to Farm Fresh Designs 59. In today's video, I've got several projects using some rice paper from Decoupage Central that has a coastal theme, so let's get started. My first project is just a tray that I bought from the Dollar Tree, and it was in the $5 section. And I'm putting on the Debbie's DIY Old and Gray Barnwood Patina paint. Now, when I put it on, it goes on rather light, and I need it to be just a little bit darker, so I end up putting 3 coats on it altogether. And I'm sorry I'm out of frame so much, but this is a pretty large tray. Now, this tray is pretty thin, but I think over time it will hold up just fine. Now, my first paper that I'm going to be using from Decoupage Central is such a pretty scene. And it's a beachy scene, and it's got the sand and the seashells down at the bottom. So what I like to do is I like to use a water pen, and I just run it along the edge, and it helps to take off that white edge around the paper. Now on this one in particular, because I'm going to be putting it on that tray, and the background of the tray is not white, the best thing you can do is to just paint the back of the decoupage paper white. And then that way you don't have the background fading into that decoupage paper. Now, I just have an extra silicone mat, and I like to take the white paint and I like to brush it from the center out so that it won't move any. And then I just start putting it on with Pen Art decoupage glue and varnish. Now, the paper has been dry for a while, so I'm not putting it down wet. And it takes just a really short time for it to dry. Now I'm using the IOD mold with seashells on it. And I'm going to be using my DOS air dry clay. And I put my cornstarch in the molds, and then I put my clay in, and I just use that micro rim on the IOD mold to kind of push it into that mold. But then I always like to go back with like an old gift card or credit card and run it over the back and make it really smooth. And then I'm making several different starfish, and on this particular mold there are actually 4 different sizes of starfish, and this is the larger one. So I'm using Titebond Thick and Quick glue to put it on, and I put the larger one down in the left-hand corner. And then up in the top left-hand corner, you're going to see me putting 2 different ones down, and then I go back and I add a 3rd one to it. Now, what I like to do is once it sets up for just a little bit, I like to go ahead and paint it white, and that prevents it from cracking. Now, some people aren't comfortable with this because the clay is still wet, and you don't want it to shift any at all. So I just use a really light touch, and the brushes that I use are super soft, and the bristles are really soft, and so it makes it really easy. And then on the top, I kind of dab it on really easy, and I don't push that paint into the details because I want that detail to stay in the mold. Now, it takes a little bit of time because you've got to go around those little edges, and it's pretty tedious. And some people don't like to do this. They'd rather wait until it dries. But I just like to do this. And so, whatever is the best choice for you. And once again, I'm sorry I'm out of frame again. And I do go back and add some more seashells, and you'll see that in the end. But I make them all with air dry clay. Now, this is the mold that is the capital alphabet, and it's called the IOD Victoria mold. And I'm going to be making these letters with my hot glue gun. Now, with these letters, because they're really skinny, I just like to use hot glue on them, even more than I do resin, because, the resin, you've got to pour it in, and it can really be tedious because the letters are so skinny. But my hot glue gun that I use has got to be at least 100 degrees for it to come out really smooth. And then once it dries, it's sort of clear. And then you've got to pull off those little hot glue strings. But it's really easy. And then this is my trick that I learned from Victoria Conhurst. And she is on Facebook with Ode to Ooh La La. And you take painter's tape and you have the sticky side up. And then you tape it down onto your surface, and then you stick those letters or whatever you're doing on top of it, and then you paint it. And then that way you don't have paint all over your fingers. And I just made the word relax, and I'm putting that on the outside of the tray. Now, before I show you the finished project, I want to show you something else real quick. So I'm going to be mixing up some resin with the Amazing Casting Resin, and it is a 1-to-1 ratio. Now I'm going to be making 3 different starfish, and I saw this on somebody's YouTube video, and I cannot remember who did it, but I just thought it was so genius. And if I can remember who it is, I will mention that in one of my future videos to make sure to give that person credit. But I put the resin in, and then I put some push pins in upside down because I'm going to be letting these sit up with the pointy part of the pin sticking out. Now, in that one right there, it just wouldn't stay, so I just kind of gave up on it and went on and got the third one ready. And then I went back to that second one and put the push pin in and held on to it for just a little bit because the resin sets up in about 10 minutes. And once they set up, then I'm just painting them with Dixie Belle Paint Blue, which is a really pretty light blue. And I even paint the back side of them because I know that that part might show just a little bit because the push pin head does not go completely into the resin and it kind of sticks out just a little bit. And you'll see what I'm going to do with it in just a minute. All right, so this is a real candle. This isn't one of those LED battery candles. And I get these at IKEA because they're super cheap. And this is just some of the braided rope that you can get at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just using my low temperature glue gun to put this on. And I'm sure there's probably a better way to do this. You could even heat up the candle and then let that the wax in the candle melt onto that rope. But I didn't want to try that. I just wanted to do what I knew would work. And so I just keep on working my way around that candle down at the bottom. And I want to say I do about 5 or 6 rows of this rope up from the bottom of the candle. And then at the very end, I like to kind of take that rope and cut it off at an angle and then make it easier so it's not quite so noticeable at the bottom. But this is going to be the back side of the candle anyway. So you really can't tell unless you look really hard. And then all I'm doing is I'm just sticking those little push pin starfish right into the candle. And here's the finished products. And I love it. And I just think this is so pretty. And what I did to finish off the edge of that decoupage paper, instead of putting a mold around it, I just took some of that old and gray barnwood patina and I just brushed it around the edges. And I just love the way it all flows together. And these are just some shells that I picked up when I went to the beach a couple summers ago with my husband. And they're actually some black scallop shells, and I just thought they were so pretty. Now, this is how it looks laying down so that you can see that word relax. And I just think this would be so pretty sitting on a coffee table at a beach house. Or you could use it in a bathroom, and put some different things on it. If you wanted to use it in a bathroom, you would certainly want to put some high gloss varnish on it just to seal it really well. But I like the way it all flows together. But I just think it's perfect for a coastal theme. So if you're enjoying the video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. And if you've not subscribed, we would love for you to subscribe and become part of our family. Now, my next piece is going to be a little shadow box. And this is a set of 4 shadow boxes. And I think I got it at Walmart. And this is another piece of decoupage paper from Decoupage Central. And it's got a sea lion on it. And right now, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with that sea lion. The little rice paper that has the sea lion on it. So if you've got any ideas, help me and tell me what you would do with it. So I've got that little box painted all white, and I just dry brushed it with that Haint Blue. And then I'm using my Pen Art Decoupage Varnish and Glue on the back side of it. And I'm going to be putting this up at the top of the shadow box. And it's kind of tricky. So, and yes, you saw me hanging onto that paintbrush. I had it stuck in my mouth instead of laying it back down. Now, it doesn't go all the way to the bottom, and I'm totally fine with that because you're going to see what I do down at the bottom. And then I just put it down just a little bit at a time and work my way down. Now, this is just some like netting that you can find at either Hobby Lobby, and I think the Dollar Tree has some of it too. And I just put it down in one corner and I just hot glue it down. Now I'm making some more hot glue molds with these different seashells. Now you can make them with resin, but resin does cost more money and hot glue is, a lot less expensive. And all I do is I paint the Starfish white, and then the other ones I paint them sort of a kind of an apricot color, and that's a Dixie Belle color. And then once I get them on, I think they're a little bit bright, and so I just kind of brush some more of that barnwood color over it. Now this is just a little tin that I found, and I painted it with the Dixie Belle Haint Blue, and this is a stamp, and it's the IOD Bohemian stamp. And I just roll out some air dry clay and I just lay that stamp on top of it and roll over it. And then that makes a mold in and of itself. And then I use my Titebond glue to put it around the edge of this little cup that I'm going to be sitting inside of the shadow box. So it's a little bit longer than it needs to be. So I just kind of use that little gift card to kind of cut off that little last part. And then it's still just a little bit wet, but it has set up, and I'm just painting that white. And then once again, to kind of tone it down and not to be so bright, I use that DIY Old and Gray Barnwood Patina again. Now I'm going to finish off the shadow box, and I go back to my high temperature glue gun because I think it holds a lot better, and then I work my way around with some more of that little braided rope that you can get at the Dollar Tree. And I just take my time and I'll let it set before I try to turn that corner because I don't want it to come off eventually. And then I start down at the bottom because if I started up at the top, you would notice especially where it started and stopped. So if it's down at the bottom, you're not going to notice it quite so much. And so that's why I started down at the bottom. And I just love it. I think it's so sweet. Now look at that little bottle. It's a little bottle that you get in a pack at the Dollar Tree. And I just took like an old page out of a book and just rolled it up and stuck it in there. And it's kind of like, when you find the letter in a bottle at the beach. And I just love all of the coastal parts of it because the beach is my favorite place to go. And then in that little cup, I didn't glue it down in it, but I made some more of those seashells and I made them double-sided. Now, this is a light switch plate. And I've made some of these in the past in my videos, and people really seem to like them. So I haven't made one in a while, so I thought I would make a new one. So this is painted with Rust-Oleum gray paint. And this is another little section of that decoupage paper that had the big old sea lion on it. And it's just a little picture of a beach house up in the corner of it. And so I use this on my light switch plate. And I play with it just a little bit because, you know, you're going to have those holes in it where you have the little switch for the light. And so I want to make sure that when I have to cut out from behind, it's not going to cut out anything that I think is important. So it's only going to be cutting out part of the sky part of it. And once it's dry, then I just go and I cut a little X in it, and then I push those extra pieces back to the back and I glue them down. Now this is part of that seashell mold, and it is a little seahorse. So because the blue in the decoupage paper is sort of a mix between a navy and it's got a little bit of light blue in it, so I just mixed a couple colors together to get that same color, and then I put it on with Titebond Thick and Quick. But I love this. I think it's so sweet. Now, I don't have a beach house, but if I had a beach house, I think this would be perfect, especially if it's going to be like an Airbnb and you're going to have guests. And, you know, the first thing they're going to notice when they turn on the light is like, oh my goodness, look at this light switch plate. All right, now this last project, I'm going to tell you, it is not my favorite piece. I really played with this a lot, and I did it one way and I didn't like it, so I took it all apart and I painted it with the Dixie Belle Paint Blue. And then I'm going to be using several different molds around the outside edges of this little box. And if you'll notice up in the corner, I took some more of that braided rope and I just glued it around the handle, and it opens up on both sides of it. And I've thrifted this, and it honestly looks like it was handmade. And the little knobs are actually wood, and they were glued in. And that color down at the bottom that is on there, that's what I originally painted with. And I didn't like it. It was horrible. So I started all over again. Now I'm taking a mermaid that comes from the IOD mermaid mold, and it's called Sea Sisters. And I just wrap it around one corner of that box. Because recently I was on Etsy and I saw just like one of the little cheaper molds, and it was just the mermaid tail. And I thought, oh, that would be kind of neat, to where on the box, maybe you could just see part of the mermaid tail. But because I had this mold, I just used the whole thing and wrapped it all around. And then on the different sides of the boxes, I just put different molds from the seashell mold. I put a seahorse, and I put some of the different seashells. And I also, a while ago, I took the IOD Harper alphabet mold, and I made some more letters, and I spelled out sea, sand, and sun, and I glued those up to the top. And then it's all finished up. Everything is painted all like blue and white, but I just thought it was just a little bit too plain, and this is where I think I'm not sure if I like it. So I decided that I would use like an antiquing gel on it. And I used just the Waverly Antique Wax, and I used a little bit of the Dixie Belle Voodoo Gel Stain in Natural. And I mixed it together so it would be a lot lighter. And I'm just brushing it on and trying to get it into the corners of the different molds and the detail. And then I wipe it back. And here's the finished product. And I like it, but it's not my favorite piece today. But this would be perfect in a beach bathroom. And you could maybe, put it on the back of the toilet and put some toilet paper in it. Or, you could use it for storage. You could even put it in your kitchen and store some different little utensils in it. But it's also got that beach theme to it. But I love how I was able to marry the different molds together, and it brings in just those beach vibes if that's a place that you love to go to, which once again, that is my favorite place to go to. And we live about 4 hours from the coast, and so we like to get down there when we can. So friends, we are at the end of the video today, And I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope I've inspired you as you begin to think about the summer and, going to the beach and just all of that ocean breeze. And it brings back so many sweet memories of me growing up and going to the beach in the summertime. So in the comments below today, tell me which one was your favorite. And are you someone that likes to go to the beach? But also remember, tell me, what would you do with that extra piece of the decoupage paper that has the sea lion on it? I want to know what kind of ideas you've got for it, because I don't want to waste it, but I need to come up with a really good idea. So I need your help. So friends, thank you for all your support. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you in my next video with some spring things. See you soon.